The station with the best music.
Vibes 101.3 FM.
The Evening Lounge, a new, insightful, uplifting, and dynamic radio program. Mondays to Thursdays from 7 to 8 p.m. The Evening Lounge, inviting you to sit back, relax, contemplate, and participate with your host, Brother Beetle. The Evening Lounge. Good conversation, great music, and good vibes coming to you right here only on Vibes FM. The Evening Lounge. Evening Lounge.
Yes, I want to say welcome to all our listeners here on Vibes FM. Welcome to the Evening Lounge. Hope you're having a wonderful day if you're here in the beautiful, beautiful Carriacou, or you're listening on the World Wide Web. I want to say welcome to you. Yes, it's a reggae vibe this week on the Evening Lounge, as we did on Monday, and we're back here with you today on Wednesday, September 22nd in the year of our Lord 2021. So come on in, sit back, throw up your feet, and relax with us on the Evening Lounge. I'm your host, Brother Beetle, and for the next 60 minutes or so, I hope you'll spend some time with me here on Vibes FM. Yes, in the next 25 minutes or so, we'll have our special feature for today's program. And of course, on a Wednesday, we do practical parenting principles. That's practical parenting principles. We talk parenting on a Wednesday. You don't want to miss this one, this important topic for us today. As I always say, put on your comfortable shoes, grab a cup of your favorite cool or warm drink as we ease on into the program. Of course, it's today's gonna be a reggae vibe. As I've said, this one is Mr. Gerald Albright on the horns, giving us the sounds of a song made famous by Robert Nesta Marley. This one called With Jammin'. Of course, always wholesome music, always positive music, always music with a good message right here on the Evening Lounge. So won't you stay with me? Thank you so much for tuning in from Grenada. Those in Antigua and Barbuda want to say hello to you. logged on from the UK and Canada, United States. And as far as Israel, we're jamming here on the Evening Lounge. It's Vibes FM. We go from Gerald Albright to Mr. Ernie Ranglin. And it's a Bob Marley vibe. This one is the sounds of Iron Lion Zion here on the Evening Lounge.
Bring out
Of course, it would be remiss of me to begin the program and not say good evening to all those still battling with what's happening with COVID-19 on our shores. New positive cases are slowly dwindling. Let's hope this is a plateau. Number of cases in hospital seem to be on a consistent number. But we still have deaths climbing. Too many people dying from COVID-19. Let's protect one another. Let's do our best to take care of our family, our friends, and our loved ones. This is Sunshine Reggae by Laid Back on the Evening Lounge.
That's all I ask of you. Give me just a little smile. We got a message for you. Sunshine, sunshine reggae. Don't worry, don't hurry. Take it easy. Sunshine, sunshine reggae. Let the good vibes get a lot stronger. Give me just a little smile. That's all I ask of you. Is that too much? Give me just a little smile. We got a message for you. John. Sunshine, sunshine reggae. Let the good vibes get a lot stronger. Sunshine, sunshine reggae. Don't worry, don't hurry. Take it easy. Sunshine, sunshine reggae. Let the good vibes get a lot stronger. Get a lot stronger. Let the good vibes get a lot stronger. Let the good vibes get a lot stronger. Let the good vibes get a lot stronger.
Giving some good vibes here on the Evening Lounge on a Wednesday. The sound of the group Laid Back giving sunshine reggae. Our thought for today as we do a reggae vibe on the evening lounge is coming from the man Robert Nesta Marley, known as Bob Marley. He said, "You never know how strong you are until being strong is the only choice you have." Wise words there from Mr. Bob Marley. He said, "You never know how strong you are until being strong is the only choice you have." Just sending some strength and good vibes there to you, my friends, as you're listening here on the Evening Lounge. This is Jimmy Cliff.
But I know it won't be long. Sitting here in limbo, like a bird without a song. Well, they're putting up resistance, but I know that my faith will lead me on. Sitting here in limbo, waiting for the dice to roll. Sitting here in limbo, got some time to search my soul. Well, they're putting up resistance, but I know that my faith will lead me on. I don't know where life will lead me, but I know where I've been. I can't say what life will show me, but I know what I've seen. Tried my hand at love and friendship, but all that is past and gone. This little boy is moving on. Sitting here in limbo, waiting for the tide to flow. Sitting here in limbo, knowing that I have to go. Well, they're putting up resistance, but I know that my faith will lead me on. I can't say what life will show me, but I know what I've seen. I can't say where life will lead me, but I know where I've been. Tried my hand at love and friendship, but all that is past and gone. This little boy is moving on. Sitting here in limbo, waiting for the tide to flow. Sitting here in limbo, knowing that I have to go. Well, they're putting up resistance, but I know that my faith will lead me on. Sitting in limbo, 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 sitting in limbo, sitting in limbo, 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 sitting in limbo, sitting in limbo, sitting in limbo.
The sound of Mr. Jimmy Cliff. Sitting in limbo, he says, "I don't know where I'm going, but I know what I've been, and I will allow my faith to lead me on."
But I know we won't be long now.
I know it won't be long, my people. Even though we grapple today with COVID 19, tomorrow will come and we'll see that today has passed and the sun has come on up. And the Lord's willing, we will still be here. Even though right now we're sitting in limbo, don't give on up. Reggae groove here inside.
The evening lounge.
Sitting in
We jump over from Mr. Jimmy Cliff to Steel Pulse. And we do this one before we jump on into our feature for today, practical parenting principles. Today we talk about social media. You don't want to miss it. Stay tuned right here on Vibes FM.
every time you meet the public, let's go, and you start to panic. Got a gun, oh, got a bomb, got a knife, who's gonna lose their life? So-called leaders, hey, with the deceitful faces, corruption. In a high place, your hands filled with pride. Mouth pours out lies, yeah. Cause of all oppression, now running for protection. Bodyguard, I wouldn't like it, job. Snakes in the grass, since I know not God. All the tricksters drinking human blood. Concrete heart can hold no love. I just get sorry for the bodyguard. Bulletproof vest strapped to your chest. Under your collar is getting hot. Whoa, got a gun, ooh, got a bomb, ooh, got a knife, ooh, who's gonna lose their life? Bodyguard, I wouldn't like your job. Snakes in the grass, no, not God. Politics that's drinking human blood. Concrete heart can hold no love. Bodyguard, I wouldn't like your job. Snakes in the grass, no, not God. Politics that's drinking human blood. Concrete heart can hold no love. Don't feel no way. I just get sorry for the bodyguard. Ooh, got a gun, ooh, got a bomb, ooh, got a knife, ooh, who's gonna lose their life? Bodyguard, I wouldn't like your job. Snakes in the grass, no, not God. Politics that's drinking human blood. Can hold no love. Bodyguard, I wouldn't like your job. Snakes in the grass, says no, not God. Politics that's drinking human blood. I said can hold no love. What you call your president? Ooh, heads of government. Smash the parliament. I just can't sorry for the bodyguard. I just can't sorry for the bodyguard. All that fretting, all that checking.
Yes, our message music there from Steel Pulse, the one called Bodyguard. As we jump into our practical parenting principles, as we give some good information on parenting today on our special feature here on the Evening Lounge. And today we're going to be talking about social media and mental health and how it specifically affects not just people in general, but also how it affects the youth. And we're going to be looking at some thoughts shared by the CEO of Disciples in Motion. This is a group that works together to help to curb mental health challenges and emotional health needs and trauma in both adults and youth. He is Dr. Timothy Summerlin. And in this special issue of his newsletter, he talks about social media and mental health, of course, from a Christian perspective, but some very, very important perspectives that we can learn as social media is, has taken over. And what do we need to know about how social media has, what kind of long-term effects or impacts social media can have on us and as parents as we try to guide our children who are all about their devices. We need to pay attention to what social media the kind of impact social media will have. So he starts out with sharing a scripture from that book of wisdom, Ecclesiastes, in chapter 3. It says, "For everything there is a season and a time for every matter under heaven. A time to be born and a time to die, a time to plant and a time to pluck what is planted, a time to kill and a time to heal, a time to break down and a time to build up, a time to weep and a time to laugh, a time to mourn and a time to dance, a time to cast away stones and a time to gather stones together, a time to embrace and a time to refrain from embracing." And his message here, he says moderation. This message in Ecclesiastes 3 is about moderation, learning to avoid extremes. Of course, for Christians, the Bible is full of verses that support this mindset. 1 Corinthians 6, verse 12, 1 Peter 5, 8, Philippians 4, verse 5. It's within our nature to go to extremes in our thoughts, in our actions, and in our hearts. And in today's periodical, Dr. Summerlin shares some thoughts about how going to extremes using social media can damage healthy mental growth. Dr. Summerlin has been working in a school setting for over 30 years, and he claims to have seen many, many things: suicides, mental health challenges, joys, challenges, and everything in between. There has been a recent explosion of social media, and that has brought about different advantages and disadvantages that have taken many people by surprise. We love technology. Social media has put us in touch with people who were long lost friends, keeps us in touch with loved ones, and is a real-time saver and connector. But with most areas of life, we can go too far and suffer the negative effects. We want to make sure that we live and make wise choices, that we can navigate difficulties, and yet often social media can be a hindrance. So today we're going to explore two of the ways that he talks about social media being a hindrance. And the first one is with isolation. Often you would think that social media makes us more connected and less isolated, but it's just the opposite. The overuse of social media can lead us to isolation, because if we use social media as our means of communication, then we don't have the need for human contact anymore, and we revert to tweets and likes and notifications to connect. This is so true. I remember being in a meeting once, and it wasn't a very formal meeting, but I remember it was a company meeting, and I was amazed at just how people were interacting by not interacting. There were individuals who, there was a man and his subordinate standing beside each other. This was during a break in the formal activities in the meeting, and they both started to laugh. And what had happened is that one person had forwarded a WhatsApp message to the other person, and they were communicating without actually communicating with each other. He had shared a photograph, and I remembered the times when it would have been normal to just take your device, your phone or your tablet, and show the other person what was there. But now we send it off. We don't even if the person is in the room with us, we communicate through the device. And what Dr. Summerlin is saying here is that leads to isolation. The more we revert to tweets, likes, and notifications to connect, then when we would spend time with others, we're now spending time with our heads down, looking at our technology. And it is a connection with other people that takes us from not being isolated. And when we don't connect, we feel isolation. And isolation is often associated with depression and anxiety. Studies show that many, many youth around the world now, in an extraordinary amount of data is coming out that says that youth, especially teenagers, preteens and teenagers, are feeling more and more and more isolated. They're not connected. They don't spend enough time outdoors, connecting with their friends and in their neighborhood. Gone are the days of, playing down the street and going to the park and just having fun in the community. As teenagers now are locked away in their rooms, on a bed, in a corner, on a couch, outside on the porch, in a device. And that's how they're communicating. And while the social media and the internet is amazing and helps us to connect with people all over the world who share our views and likes, and we can connect with them, but it's not a real connection in the way that our psyches work, in the way our minds work. We want to look into people's eyes. We want to be able to be in their space. That saying that no man is an island is not solved through social media. The amount of likes that you have doesn't determine your self-worth. And having more likes doesn't replace having someone that you like in your own space. And the more we allow children to organize their lives, to center their lives around social media, the more we're having them be predisposed to isolation. So he shares a scripture in Hebrews chapter 3, verse 13. Says, "But encourage one another daily, as long as it is called today, so that none of us may be hardened by the deceitfulness of sin." We need encouragement, but that encouragement, the best type of encouragement that we need is that which comes from being connected, physically connected in a physical space and not a virtual space. So isolation, we want to protect our kids from isolation, and that isolation can come from an overindulgence in social media. We have to be careful about using social media as a surrogate parent. Very often our lives get so busy. There's many things that we want to do, so many things to handle. And because children love their devices, they love to be online, they love to be on the internet and play games and watch videos and watch series and all that good stuff. But we can use that. They're doing it anyway, and we can sometimes duplicate or neglect to do the things that we need to do with our children if we are allowing the device and the social media to give us free time, but neglecting time we need to use with them. One great idea is to counter isolation by making social media time a time for the family. Do something together involving the social media, whether it's playing a game together on the phone or on your tablet, or watching something together as a family on the device. Since they want to use the device and they want to do it and they want to get involved with it, be involved with it with them so that they can experience the difference of sharing someone in their space instead of being isolated and just connected to the person or what's happening on the other side of the screen. We take some more music. This is Marcia Griffiths, and we come back with some practical parenting principles here on the Evening Lounge. It's a reggae vibe on a Wednesday. Fire burning.
I was drawn into myself, observing all this time. From every angle that I see, my people, you're needing help. The brothers have turned to crime, so they die from time to time. We'd like to ask you leaders, what have you got in mind? I see the fire spreading, it's getting hotter and hot. The haves will wanna be in the shoes of the have-nots. If the sign is on your door, then you will be safe for sure. But if you are in pretense, you're on the wrong side of the fence. Fire burning. Another thing I saw in visions right in front of these eyes. Sisters prostituting, selling away their lives. They get but very little pay, the ones who clean the mess. Minority who sits on top raise themselves the best. But I see the fire spreading, it's getting hotter and hot. The haves will wanna be in the shoes of the have-nots. If the sign is on your door, then you will be safe for sure. But if you are in pretense, you're on the wrong side of the fence. Fire burning, fire burning, burning, burning. Feel the fire burning. Fire burning, burning, burning. Feel the fire burning. Fire burning, burning, burning. Feel the fire burning. Fire burning, burning, burning. Feel the fire burning.
No, I walk up on eye. So no, I do up the phone. I notice them say do what true to Caesar, give to Caesar. But what Caesar doing for me and you? Nothing.
I was drawn into myself, observing all this time. From every angle that I see, my people, you're needing help.
Also, them are feeling.
Others have turned to crime, so they die from time to time.
Them not stop dying.
We'd like to ask you leaders, what have you got in mind?
The people, them a fool, and them a idiot. Them no see the food prices, one boy hot. Them a fool, and them a idiot. Them no want to demonstrate to make the food price drop. Them a fool, and them a idiot. Some of them a pose up and go on like them a big shot. Them a fool, and them a idiot. Tell all the big boys, say them better turn back fast.
Fire, 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 fire burning. Another thing I saw in vision, right in front of these eyes.
My eyes.
Sisters prostituting, selling away their lives.
Not now go on for them.
They get but very little pay. The ones who clean the mess.
$100.
Minority who sits on top rates themselves the best. But I see the fire spreading. It's getting hotter and hot.
Red up.
The haves will wanna be in the shoes of the have-nots.
Them a ton fat, yeah.
The sign is on your door, then you will be safe for sure. But if you are in pretense, you're on the wrong side of the fence.
They say the youth them nowadays are dead for hungry. They can't find a job, Lord, for her. No money they can't find no food for mind them bikini. But listen to the rank of thing on reality. They must be fool. They must be a idiot. They must see the food prices. One boy, but they must be fool. They must be a idiot. The people want the man straight and make the food price drop. They must be fool. They must be a idiot. Tell all the politicians they meet a thunder. Reality, yes, me a fling down reality. Follow me no massive one crew. Reality, yes, me a fling down reality. The youth them a dip hungry. When me come, said you know me welcome. When me come, a me a mass ya country. When me come, say you know me welcome. You know say put the ranking just a blossom.
Said another thing I saw in vision, right in front these eyes.
Cross my eyes.
Sisters prostituting, selling away their lives.
Because them not earn nothing.
They get but very little pay. The ones who cleans a mess.
$100.
Minority who sits on top just rates themselves the best. But I see the fire spreading. It's getting hotter and hot.
Red up.
The haves will wanna be in the shoes of the have-nots.
Still I say I
The
know.
sign is on your door, and you will be safe for sure.
Yeah.
But if you are in pretense, you're on the wrong side of the fence.
Too much liberty. Them want to take away too much liberty. Them no have no pity. Too much liberty. They want to take away too much liberty. We not earn no money. Una must be fool. Una must be a idiot. You know see the food prices. One boy, but una must be fool. Una must be a idiot. Una want them a shit and make the food price drop. Una must be fool. Una must be.
The sound of Martha Griffiths and the man Cutty Ranks there with the remix of Fire Burning. As we continue with the message music here, reggae music, the reggae vibe on a Wednesday. We're talking practical parenting principles here on the Evening Lounge. And the second thought from this work by Dr. Summerlin, talking about social media and mental health, particularly as it impacts on the youth. We talked about isolation, and now we're talking about comparing ourselves to perfect people. This is one of those challenges that Dr. Summerlin has pointed out that really has an impact on the youth. This idea that social media forces us to compare ourselves to open and close quotations, perfect people. Rarely will you see others posting difficulties and challenges of life on social media. Typically, what we see on social media is the quote unquote perfect life. Someone eating a beautiful meal, marveling at a sunset on a beautiful beach, or family enjoying time together. Now, while that's great and it has meaning and creates connection, but only when shared in moderation. Dr. Summerlin says that young people in particularly don't typically have the maturity to understand that this is not what life is like most of the time for humans. It's a trend, a growing trend now where youth develop sorrow, this woe is me, or this anxiety, or what they call FOMO, which is fear of missing out about their lives. Why can't I eat great food? Why can't I enjoy amazing vacations? Why is everyone else able to do this and what's going on with me. What happens is that we spend too much energy comparing ourselves to others. And in doing so, we lose our gratitude for the lives that God has created for us. And this is especially um, challenging when it comes to the youth, right? So he shares some additional thoughts on social media. He has a social media heart check. Before social media, life was simpler, uncluttered. You knew that you alone were what you alone were having for dinner, not everybody else. Our hours were much more productive, more focused. There was no scrolling and no clicking distractions, no blog hopping. People battered down and worked or played or read a good book without thought as to what we might be missing. And we knew people, not just their happy side, but the real life that they had. And so it didn't lead to discontentment in our own lives. Many youth get depressed, and there has been a rise in this generations, in suicides in a lot of the world, because youth are just so focused on social media, and because of it attracts masses of us. We benefit from the connection and the information and the inspiration, but there are potential pitfalls because we desire so much of what is out there, and a lot of it is fake and pretend, but we try to put our lives there, and we wish our lives were there. And Dr. Summerlin says that the youth don't have the maturity to understand yet that is not what life is like. And so it causes depression and mental health challenges. Social media is robust and real-time engagement. Timelines are filled with reaction and raw emotion, and opinions can come at us quickly. This is one of the challenges of social media. There are political and popular figures that are just sharing their information, and it's easy to get drawn into it. It's fast moving and it can carry us away. Even as adults, we know how misinformation on social media can take on a life of its own. Do we understand how much this impacts our youth? They too are exposed to their own version of social media blasts that takes information, whether it's about the newest fad out there, the clothes, or the newest song, or what's happening with popular artists, or just something that's going on, a game, and sometimes it takes their all of their focus, all of their energy, and they start to feel like they're missing out on life because they're so engaged in social media. A lot of also lots of negative influences can come. People enjoy quick satisfaction, and their emotion wants an outlet, and so people quickly complain on social media. They say things on social media because it's anonymous, and they probably wouldn't say it somewhere else if you knew who they were. Anger that needs to be expressed, and contrary views that are vigorously opposed, that all those things are spewed out at our children on social media. And while people elevate their own ideas and present them as if they are facts, and because we can't see the faces behind the communication, then based on what is written, we tend to take it on face value. So we have to be wise as we navigate social media, but also understand that if we have to be wise as adults, then our children will also have to be wise on social media too. How are you helping your child to use wisdom when it comes to social media? we go to Jimmy Cliff and come back for a final segment here on the Evening Lounge. A track called Reggae Down Babylon.
A girl walked up to me one day. This is what she had to say. She said, reggae makes me feel alright. I want to do it with you tonight. So we took a stroll out on the town, look for the hottest spot around. Then we start jamming to the sound. We ram it and we jam it and we reggae them down. Oh, we reggae down Babylon. Reggae down apartheid. Reggae down Babylon. Reggae down apartheid. Do it again. Do it again. Do it again. Do it again. She said, I bet they think they had seen the end. While we were coasting around the bend, checking on some friends we know. We said, come, let's go to our go-go. So we took a stroll out on the town, found the hottest spot there's around. Then we start to check it through the sound. We ram it and we jam it and we reggae them down. Oh, reggae down Babylon. Reggae down apartheid. Reggae down Babylon. Reggae down apartheid. Do it again. Do it again. Do it again. And we will do it again. Hey, reggae down Babylon. Reggae down apartheid. Reggae down Babylon. Reggae down apartheid. Do it again. I make we do it again. Do it again. Do it again. He said, I bet they think they have control over the people with rock and roll. I said, I bet they think they can hide the truth, holding the people from the roots. When they think they have it all their way, here we come and it's a brand new day. Now they better listen what we have to say. You should have seen us when we start to reggae them down. Oh, we reggae down Babylon. Reggae down apartheid. Reggae down Babylon. Reggae down apartheid. Do it again. Do it again. Do it again. Do it again. Reggae down Babylon.
Mr. Jimmy Cliff says we reggae down Babylon. We're going to reggae down COVID-19 and continue to live on. Yes, we continue. This is our last segment as we talk about social media and mental health. And we've been talking about this idea of how these ways in which social media, if not used properly, if overused and abused, can have challenges in our lives and how this affects our youth. The last points here are that social media encourages bragging. And, In these two final points, Dr. Summerlin talks about the fact that how we as adults use social media will be mirrored in our children. So this is very important for us to think about how to make sure that our children are seeing us use social media in a healthy way. So am I bragging on social media? Do I routinely, post things that are not just celebrating but bragging? Yes, we're sharing the excitement of a moment and we want to share it, but sometimes it's wise to step back and say, why am I posting what I'm posting? Why did I even take a picture of this? Am I trying to make myself look good? Am I trying to show up someone else? Am I trying to let someone know or feel that I'm somebody? Sometimes we need to pull back, and that kind of restraint will help to teach our children to have their own restraint when it comes to sharing sensitive and personal information on social media. And finally, he asks a question: is social media always the best use of my time? For those of us who engage in social media, he says this could be a frequent consideration. We're called to make the most of our time, not squander it. Yet, we might be shocked if we could see a daily tally of our time spent posting, commenting, scrolling, clicking, forwarding, and pursuing links across various social media platforms. We all have responsibilities and obligations, whether at home, at school, at work, at church. Many of us have a combination of those things, and we must learn to prioritize time for things that are more important, especially in a Christian community where prayer and study of the word is so important. Social media can encroach upon more meaningful things. When we show that we put social media in its place to our children, they will learn the same thing. Do we check our social media as the very first thing before we wake, when we wake in the morning, or the very last thing? Does it have pride of place in our lives? And does our social media habits show examples that are devastating and destructive to our children? So the big focus was on the isolation and comparing and bad habits, that the detriments that can be meted out to our youth in social media usage. We need true human connection and gratitude. And those are important to making sure that we live healthy lifestyles and build emotional connections, and that our youth, our children, learn to use social media in a healthy way. That's it for our practical parenting principles right here on the Evening Lounge for today, Wednesday, September 27th. Thank you so much for staying with us. And tomorrow we do it different. Tomorrow is focus on all just for the youth, encouraging vibes for the youth on positive vibrations. But until then, Lord's willing, when we meet again, this is Brother Beadle saying, love each other and love the Lord. We go out with this one: live on. Have a wonderful, wonderful evening.
Oh, if you should hear me calling, would you stop what you were doing? Hurry over and see what's going on. If you should see me crying, would you assist in mending a heart that has been broken? Oh, it could be you and me, with a life so free, never have to worry. Oh, live on. When we're old and gray, we're still in this way, never have to worry.